troubadour is somebody that can get through Wyoming with a guitar without being shot.
My first experience with the medicine show was Hank Penny had a big tent that they brought to our town and so forth. And so anyway, I went to it, and it was comedy and the whole thing. It was almost like the Grand Ole Opry, only it was in our town, you know.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience. They had a comedy comedian and the whole bit, you know, the band and everything.
Yeah.
And it was real good.
Yeah. I think one of my heroes of the era that I grew up in was Bob Wilson. I think he played some medicine shows.
Yes, he did.
And he kind of bummed around the country playing fiddle, you know.
Traveled in that big bus. Traveled in that big bus he had.
Well, I don't know. At that time, he didn't have a bus. I don't know. That was before he became
before
Bob Wilson.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
But then eventually he went to work for Burris Mills there, you know, in Fort Worth or wherever it was,
He was with the Light Crust Doughboys before that. Yeah.
And then he had a feud going with W. Leo Daniel.
Yeah.
You know? And every time he'd get a radio show somewhere, Daniel would call the radio station and tell him he's going to pull out his sponsorship.
Sponsorship, yeah.
And that's what ran Bob out of Texas. He had to go clear up to first went to Oklahoma City.
KVO, was it?
Well, no, that was in Tulsa.
Oh, Tulsa.
But when he first went to Oklahoma City, Daniels pulled that trick on him, and so they let him go there. And so he moved up to Tulsa, and he told them, I guess, there that what was probably going to happen, and they said, well, we'll back you. And that's when he really got a start, was there in KVOO Tulsa.
Yeah, right, that's what it was.
Noontime broadcast, yeah. And of course he became, that was the era where I was a kid at home listening to his everyday broadcast, wishing I could be playing with him, you know.
And my teacher was around there. He was from Muskogee, Barney Kessel.
Oh yeah, Barney. Yeah.
He played with the band, the country band there.
Great guitarist. Yeah.
I met Barney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just passed away a couple weeks ago.
Oh no, he did.
Yeah. About 2 weeks ago.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either.
I sure liked him.
Sure was a good guitar player.
Serenaded him in the backseat of a car in Hollywood back in 1955.
Yeah.
I wound up out in West Texas after I got out of high school, and that's where I ran into Lefty Frizzell, you know. We were, both of us working in this beer bar called the Ace of Clubs.
Oh, yes.
And we both just kids. I was about 18, and he was a couple of years older. And we were just kind of bumming around. We was playing, I think, 7 nights a week and a matinee on Sunday. You know?
Wow.
Well, they were really working us, you know, and I think we were getting $50 a week.
I was going to say no money, but a lot of work.
Yeah. And I eventually got a better offer. Went over to Hobbs, New Mexico for 6 nights a week and $75 a week.
Oh boy, that was
so I was really uptown, you know.
Yeah.
And then Lefty went on down to Dallas, and in the meantime, I'd kind of migrated back to Big Spring and playing in another club over there, and Lefty was in Dallas at the time, I guess. So he called me up and wanted to know if I'd come down and cut some records with him. So I did that, you know, and of course we had no idea they were going to hit like they did.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
They just went like
Oh
that.
boy, he did. He really came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah. Station wagon, one of those little tear-shaped trailers.
Oh yeah,
for
yeah,
our
yeah.
instruments.
Yeah.
And that was fairly cramped. I hugged a bass fiddle. I don't know how many miles.
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, you've
Me
done
too.
that. I'm
Me
sure.
too.
haven't you? That's before they come up with these electric basses, you know.
Yeah, right.
Man, oh man, you know.
You like travel?
That was a lot of fun. Traveled in buses. That's about the only tour I ever did with a bus. And I got to drive the bus. That was fun. We had Frank Zappa's bus called Fido, but it was spelled like a French word, Phydeaux.
Oh,
Had a funny cartoon of a dog running along with 2 crossed band-aids on his floppy ears.
I heard you were trying to drive our bus this trip.
Oh, I've been watching the drive, you know, trying to keep him awake mostly.
One thing about this driver, he's a smooth driver. Boy,
Yes,
I've been on buses where they kept hitting the brakes all the time.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
he's good.
He's
just
about the smoothest
you can
driver
throw you out
I've
of the
been
bunk and everything else, you know.
I noticed that.
Still intrigued a lot of it. In fact, Merle Haggard, you know, when he was 11 years old, is after his, I think his dad died when he was 9, and he really loved his dad, and it really upset him, when his dad passed away. And but they say that when he was 11 years old, he hopped a freight train out of the Bakersfield area there and went clear back to Texas, and he was looking for somebody back there, and he's still a train nut. I mean, he's right after I got acquainted with him, his birthday was coming up, and his wife bought a boxcar for him, because he was raised in a boxcar. His
He was
dad
born
worked-
in one, wasn't he?
Uh-huh.
I heard he was born in one. Up
He was.
there. Yeah.
And it's still in existence down in
I'll be
Bakersfield.
darned,
And they built a kind of a front room type thing onto that boxcar, and
I think I was 12 years old. My mom bought me a guitar that was called a collegiate. I think it was made out of cigar box wood. The strings were about an inch high off the
That's
frets.
what I'm talking about.
And I took a few lessons, and it was reading and playing scales, and I lasted about a week with that. I didn't particularly like it. Ended up in a closet. And then later, when I was 15, I ran away from home and joined that rodeo, and J.E. Rat's rodeo, and there was a clown on that show called Bramer Rogers, played guitar and banjo and sang all the hillbilly songs. Stay all night, stay a little longer.
oh, yeah.
I just, as soon as I got back home, about 3 months later, I dug that guitar out of the closet, started practicing and playing on it about 5 hours a day, till I had like elephant's feet on my fingertips from them
Hurt
terrible
like heck.
strings. And after a while, I realized I better get a real
Better
guitar.
one, yeah.
I got a Gretsch 75.
And they were made in Brooklyn.
Yeah. the Gretsch
60
factory.
Broadway, Brooklyn.
I don't remember the
I do.
address. There's a Gretsch factory right next door to the bridge that goes over to Manhattan, near the Williamsburg Bridge.
Well, they were at 60 Broadway, because when we went over there, when we were in New York at the Village Barn, we opened up there the 4th of February in 1940.
Wow.
The Riders of Purple Sage. And then Jimmy Webster, do you remember Jimmy Webster?
You know?
He was a designer for